And
listen, if they're hiring people, yes, it makes sense. If you're doing a hiring process and you have a hiring committee that is DEI and they're hiring the people that's making the company as great as we just said, your argument is that DEI takes away merit.
It does.
But if we see that Google is doing well and they're using DEI, how the hell are you saying that DEI is not making merit?
I honestly hate this discussion. I hate it.
Mr. Simple, you've said some very nasty things about me online. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Simple question, Simple Black Theory. What do you think about blind hiring? Are you for blind hiring?
No.
No. So why not? Because blind hiring, for those you don't know, is based on merit, where you don't look.
No, it's not.
So what's blind hiring?
Blind hiring would be that you do not put the race actually when you submit for, you don't even see the person when you interview them for a job.
No. That's one part of blind hiring. There's multiple ways to do blind hiring. But at the end of the day, blind hiring is exactly not knowing the person's race, age, or gender. That's based on merit. Like you said, you want merit, correct?
Well, hold on. Those things.
If that's the case, I would probably agree with blind hiring. Like, I don't know another way that would like get rid of any type of bias, but I need to learn more about it. This is actually my first time ever even hearing the term blind hiring. But what's going on, everybody? My name is LFR Jojo. Today we're checking out a DEI debate. It's a student who I guess supports DEI versus Charlie Kirk, who's against it. Let's get into it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about me later on in the video, but for now, let's go.
These can factor into merit as well. For example, if I'm trying to hire for an Amazon warehouse worker, and all of a sudden I find out that they're at 69 with 1 year left from retirement and the age is not disclosed, wouldn't I prefer to have a 24-year-old man than a 69-year-old woman who's overweight?
You're moving the goalposts. Let's bring it back here.
No,
the whole point was about blind hiring.
No,
right?
you said race, sex, and age is not incorporated.
Correct.
I think you should have a full picture of a human being is when you hire them.
So you care about that.
Charlie Kirk actually makes a lot of sense there. I'm not gonna lie. He makes a lot of sense. When I hear blind hiring, he's 100% right. If you have a job, like if you try to hire a freaking wrestler in the WWE, you have blind hiring and you need an opponent for Roman Reigns and you pick up a 5'2" woman, doesn't make any sense. However, if you have like a computer science job or I guess a white collar job, like you're an HR specialist or something, yeah, you can have blind hiring. But yeah, he's also right. Like it doesn't work in every field. In some fields, I think it can obviously work. Fields where you don't have to have like physical strength or any type of, I guess, physical movement. Like if you're a lawyer or something or HR, white collar, yeah, you can do it. But and like you need to move Amazon boxes or something or wrestle or something like that, obviously you cannot do it.
Diversity.
No, actually, I don't.
Why? Because that's basically merit. You're focusing solely on merit. You said you want meritocracy.
No. Just to be clear, if diversity happens naturally through meritocracy, great. If all of a sudden we have people
DEI.
that, well, no, it's not. DEI is by force.
So let me explain that.
No.
Go ahead.
I got to interject. DEI is that we are going to forcibly make an institution more colorful.
Right.
We're going to forcibly make an institution more black. Where if all of a sudden, if half of Texas A&M was black because it was all on merit, praise God, that's an amazing thing. It doesn't matter. If all of a sudden, for example, if the NBA is 75% black because it's on merit, great. Terrific. If the NFL is half black because on merit, we don't want to force race. We want excellence and meritocracy over race in every possible circumstance.
Right, yeah, my turn. Okay, so let's get into the NBA, for instance, right? Can we both agree at one point black people weren't allowed into the NBA? And then they allowed them to be in the NBA? Wouldn't that be considered diversity? Wouldn't that be DEI in itself?
No. It's actually the opposite. You see, you're mistaken, my friend. It's actually, we're getting rid of any racial stereotyping. What happened was actually a form. No, DEI is racial stereotyping. So what actually was before was a form of white preference DEI, which is white supremacy or whatever. And then we got rid of it. We said, we're not going to discriminate it. And the quality of play got better. Do you guys see the difference between the two? You see, it's very important. Well, no, actually, I'm talking to both you and the crowd, right? I'm talking to both, right? So what ended up, what you want is you actually want to bring back a form of how Major League Baseball and the NBA used to work before we desegregated.
So we can agree that Executive Order 11246 is what basically brought in DEI, correct?
I think that might be it. Is that the affirmative action one? I don't know.
No, it's not the affirmative action. It's for DEI. So within that executive order, where does it say that they're solely focused on making people get into jobs. For instance, like United Airlines, right? You mentioned that, well, let's pause that. I'm gonna get to here. So for an example of DEI is basically your daughter, right? She decides to get a job, right? And unfortunately, it's that time of the month. She goes into the bathroom. Calm down, calm down, calm down. She goes into the bathroom. Stop. She's going into the bathroom.
You're losing the audience, man.
I don't care. I'm talking to you. So she goes into the bathroom, right? And she goes into the bathroom and gets a tampon or a pad that's been given from the job. That is DEI. That is literally, yes. Yeah. You don't know. That's great. So if you don't know, DEI, interrupt me so he can win. Go ahead. You want to do that, right? Or be quiet and we can talk. Thank you. So, right. Can I continue? Thank you. So, my thing is dead. All right, so, yes, because in Executive Order 11246, they say that DEI is focusing on a safer environment and a more equitable environment within the workplace and the hiring process. Let's look at Google. Google actually does DEI. You know how they do DEI? Give me an example of, do you know Google's DEI? I'm pretty sure you don't.
And they shouldn't, of course not.
What is their DEI initiative?
I actually don't know the specifics. Because I don't know every company's specifics.
I got
However, let me ask you a question. When you're hiring somebody, would you rather hire someone that's black or someone that there is excellent?
So, that's what we're talking about. That's not what DEI is.
Actually, it is. So let me prove it.
Here's what I'll say about this. They're having completely two different conversations. If y'all don't know about me, I got a full ride to college for both my bachelor's and my master's. I got an optical engineering degree. Now I just got a master's in electrical engineering. I graduate next Friday. Shout out to me. It was very, very, very hard. I'm not gonna lie. Very hard. Hard to the point I was working 60, 70 hours a week while still posting on YouTube, while still doing what I had to do. And while I was doing this, fairness never crossed my mind. Fairness never crossed my mind because one concept my dad always told me is that life is not fair. There were people in my classes who learned about engineering when they were 10 years old, whose parents got them private tutors, who they've had jobs in engineering before where they've had leg up on me that I didn't have. There were people in my classroom who knew concepts that they learned when they were in high school, in middle school, from whatever schools they went to. But it never crossed my mind that, oh, it's unfair. They need to lower the playing field so I can compete with them. No, I decided I'm going to get this degree no matter what. I'm going to try to be the best I can be. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if I work 10, 12, 13 hours a day. I will have the same results. I will learn as much as them. I had to study harder than people. I'm not going to lie. I had to work harder than people. I had to look for more scholarships than people. I had to do things that other people didn't have to do just to get the same exact degree. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this person is looking at this debate from a very defeated and almost loser-like perspective. He's talking about tampons and bathrooms when Charlie Kirk is talking about fair opportunity and equal opportunity in jobs. Equal opportunity based off of merit. I do understand where he's coming from. Like, yes, having tampons in one bathroom is an equitable thing to do because men don't need tampons and women. You're missing the heart of what Charlie Kirk is saying. The heart of what he's saying is that he wants fairness because you want everyone to have the same opportunity to compete for something. And I'm not saying this blindly. I've competed in my life. I'm about to graduate a master's in electrical engineering. It was not easy at all. I had to fight for this degree. I had to fight to learn information that came easy to others. But at least it was a fair fight. Imagine you are fighting for something, but another person they get special privilege or special treatment. They get better scholarships that you don't even have access to. That's what he's saying. It's not right. It's not fair. You just want the fair chance to be like, okay, I can still fight you on the same playing field. I might lose. I still might lose. But at least at least we were given the fair chance to go after this. And you're talking about tampons. It's really stupid. But let's continue.
Prove it to you. As I said, according to the Student for Fair Admission Supreme Court case, black students were able to get into Harvard with
affirmative action, not DEI.
Affirmative action. Time out. Time out. You're getting too worked up here, man. Okay? Time out. Affirmative action is DEI in practice. You see, DEI is a theory.
Wasn't it struck down by Supreme Court?
Yes, and they still ignore
so
it.
Why are you bringing it up?
Because they're still ignoring it, my friend.
So let's focus on my question I asked you.
Hold on. Let's get back to the core macro tenet, which I think is very important.
Correct.
Which is, wouldn't you prefer a country built on excellence and merit, not one based on forced pigmentation diversity? Why does somebody's skin color matter? No, tell me, what differences do you as a black man and me as a white man have, and why does it matter?
Okay, so
why does it matter?
So let's look at, because again, you don't understand what DEI is, and you're trying to put it into one stance, which is not. So
it seems like he's trying to redefine what DEI actually is, and that's something that I've also touched on my channel a lot. The left and the right just have very different definitions of DEI, and to me, it's kind of stupid. And I feel like they're saying, well, they're not saying the same thing. I feel like this young gentleman is intentionally ignoring what Charlie Kirk is saying. Charlie Kirk is using DEI, the term, synonymously with unfair treatment in the hiring market. He's not actually underlying the entirety of all equitable treatment, such as putting tampons in a woman's bathroom. The majority of humans would agree with putting tampons in a woman's bathroom at a work job. The majority of humans. Some might disagree, but they're not talking about that. They're talking about hiring one race over another race. They're talking about giving one race scholarships that another race does not have access to, despite their financial standing. That's what they're talking about when they talk about DEI. And what you're trying to argue is not even what he's saying. It's not what he's saying. You're trying to say, oh, that's not the definition of DEI. That's the reality of DEI. Now what? It's the reality. It's the reality. It's real life. So it's just, and here's the thing. I understand the laws. I understand where he's coming from, but I just think it's a poor approach.
Correct. So
I have an idea of what President Trump signed. Correct, but because he got rid of that executive order.
Right. And in that executive order, it says literally, y'all can Google it too. It says that DEI focuses on both the workplace and hiring.
Oh, got it. So does it focus on diversity?
Let me explain the
Does
DEI
it have the word
initiative.
diversity?
Yes. But
we should not have any forced diversity, period. End of story.
It's not forced diversity. It does not say forced diversity. And I'll put money on that, too.
What, does it say diversity?
It says diversity, yes.
Well, then it's forced diversity.
But it's not forced diversity.
Then what is it? It's a suggestion?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm lying. Does it say forced diversity in the executive order?
But it has the word diversity.
Does it say forced diversity in the executive order?
Hold on, let me get this straight. Executive order with the word diversity.
Can I give you an example of DEI initiative then?
Diversity?
Let me give you an example of DEI initiative so you have a better understanding. So let's look at Google, right? Google's one of the hardest companies to actually get into. In fact, I believe it's a 0.2% chance that you actually get the job, right? They actually run a DEI initiative. Their DEI initiative is called a hiring committee, where they have a diverse group of people that have been working.
Awful.
How? So you're telling me Google sucks?
Google actually is, honestly.
So y'all using Bing. Y'all using Bing.
Honestly, ChatGPT's way better than Google recently. I don't know about you guys. No, but honestly, to your point though, Google has lost its competitive edge in a lot of ways the last 10 years. Hold on a second. Again, Google does a lot right, but hold on. Google has lost the social media war. Google tried to launch a Facebook competitor, an Instagram competitor, failed. They tried to also launch a Zoom and a Skype competitor.
Let's focus on the conversation.
Failed.
That has no proof
Google's
that was
market
DEI.
cap. Google's market cap, otherwise known as Alphabet, has actually missed expectations over the last 2 years versus Netflix, Amazon, and Apple and Microsoft. In fact, there was a prediction 10 years ago that Google would be the first $3 trillion company.
Right.
Turns out that it was actually Microsoft that was the first $3 trillion company. Now, of course, Alphabet is a very good company in a lot of different ways, but if your argument right now is like, well, because one of the biggest companies on the planet has embraced a bad idea, what is your argument exactly?
They're still one of the best companies in the world.
Not because of that, because they were built by merit, and it's being destroyed by diversity.
And they use DEI to get that merit. Listen, if they're hiring people, yes, it makes sense. If you're doing a hiring process and you have a hiring committee that is DEI and they're hiring the people that's making the company as great as we just said, your argument is that DEI takes away merit.
It does.
But if we see that Google is doing well and they're using DEI, how the hell are you saying that DEI is not making merit?
First of all, Google has not had this hiring committee around since its inception.
They have. Not since its inception, but they had it for a while. And the people in the committee are people who's been there for a while, which is very diverse.
Secondly, you have not answered this fundamental question, though.
Go ahead.
Which is, can you tell me when an organization gets forcibly more diverse, it gets better?
I honestly hate this discussion. I hate it. and they're talking about Google. If you guys don't know, Google, everyone knows what Google is. Google is the internet. You use Google to search everything. They actually created an entire new meaning of the word Google. Oh, I'm about to Google it, meaning I'm about to look something up to research it. The reason I hate this is because I'm a black man, and I'm in a field, electrical engineering, electronics engineering. And I've actually been accused in my life of being DEI. Oh, did you get this from a DEI hire? And I hate it. I hate it because it completely negates and it disrespects all the work I've put in. I've never gotten a DEI benefit of the doubt ever. I've never gotten it. I've worked hard. I've worked and worked and worked and worked hours a week without sleep, sometimes without food, without anything, just to get to a level that I've never seen before. I'm the first person in my entire family to get a master's degree, let alone an electronics engineering master's degree. And when I hear this phrase, oh, Google got to where they are because of DEI. No, Google got to where they are because they had a crazy CEO and a team of software engineers who busted their behind to get to where they are. They had a team of investors who believed in what they did. That's how Google got to where they are. The CEO down the street got to where they are because they were crazy enough to believe in themselves and put themselves out there. That's how they got to where they are. But when you try to boil it down to DEI is the reason this company is successful, DEI is the reason this company, no, it's not. It's not. There could be evidence. DEI initiatives could play into it because a lot of their customers may have supported that. But by the time DEI initiatives were created, these were billion and trillion dollar companies, and they've gotten there off of hard work and excellence. That's what we should be rewarding. When you try to boil it down to, oh, your race or your gender, it's not only extremely disrespectful to how much work they put in, it's disingenuous and it's wrong.
Again, I just proved to you Google. Okay.
I just gave you Google.
Again,
they use DEI. Not only are they one of the best companies. Oh yeah, I hate that argument. Great.
I mean, again, it's just they're fine. I'm not gonna like totally kind of crap on Google, but like more importantly and more broadly, I do think you have to answer the question,
so
why does skin color matter at all in hiring? Answer that question. Why does skin color matter?
So, if we look at basketball, because you love talking about that, right? Can we both agree that at one point, there was no black athletes, and then what happened? They diversified.
We got rid of forced segregation, which is a form of DEI.
And that diversified the basketball,
because
right?
It was based on merit.
Was it diversified?
Yes, but not by force. No, hold on a second.
No, this is a terrible discussion. It was literal Jim Crow racial segregation that stopped any black or non-white person from competing. That is not DEI. That's just a fair treatment. And they didn't forcibly put black men in the NBA. What happened before that is saying that if you are black, you can't play in the NBA. Meaning that they just lifted up the gate. They just said, okay, anyone can play now. But what he's referring to is not what is happening today. There are entire systems and scholarships just for black students. And I'm not making this up. That's the truth. There are scholarships, there are rewards, there are portals just for African American students. They don't look at your income. It's just for that. And what he's referring to is not what is happening now. I can't even believe he would use this example, honestly. Let me just play the video out though.
Very much.
Hold on, but if your argument is that if you want to make things more merit-based, then let's do it.
It is more merit-based.
Hold on a second.
They made it diversifying. They diversified basketball, bringing black people who are good in it.
Nothing you're saying.
Diverse.
Nothing you're saying is making any sense.
Oh, okay, I bet.
Because what they did.
Of course you don't.
The NBA went to pure merit, pure excellence. Are you good at this? That's all they cared about.
They allowed black people in, right?
Exactly, because prior.
Okay, then.
Hold on. Because you know what they had prior was a form of racial stereotyping. And you want more racial stereotyping. Your worldview is indecipherable from the KKK.
So
what you want, it's indecipherable because you are race obsessed. I am not race obsessed.
No, you
talk
though.
About the race. You talk about race more than the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Right.
Because
I'm the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Well, think about it. I said your worldview. Think about it.
Yeah.
Because you're around talking about race all the time. I'm talking about character. Which of
you
us?
talk about race all the time. You literally said DEI is based on race when it's not. It's DEI with accessibility.
Man, you're getting really upset. You should take a pause.
You keep lying. For instance, right? I've been trying to say this. DEI, one part of DEI is literally giving women tampons or pads at work. Oh, yeah, you're laughing because you don't know that.
Giving women tampons is a form of DEI.
Yes, it is. You know why? Let me explain. Yeah, no, I got you. I'm about to explain to you guys. So basically what happens is, the reason why we have DEI is the fact that in a job location, right, they want to hire more people of diverse. So what these initiatives, these goals, these aspirations that they're doing is trying to bring more people in. For instance, like if, what's that store? Trader Joe's, right? They let people sit down while they bring stuff in. They help disability. That's DEI. That helps disabled people get a job at Trader Joe's. But what you're telling me is that we are not allowed to tell people that for like onboarding. Onboarding in itself is also DEI. When they explain to you sexual harassment, when they do all these things, when they make it more a safer place, that is DEI. And what you're saying is that the workplace shouldn't be safe. What you're saying is that more companies should have discrimination lawsuits.
Let's get back
That's what DEI stops.
Get back
discrimination lawsuits.
DEI is racial quotas. End of story.
Give me one racial quota.
United
Give me one.
Airlines.
I Googled that. So go ahead.
Oh,
I Googled it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So
go ahead, continue.
What did United Airlines announce? Because you know what I said about black pilots. What did they announce when it came to pilots? And why should skin color matter when you board an airplane?
So just to remind everybody, it's Charlie Kirk's idea. He basically, stop talking. So Charlie Kirk basically.
Ooh, that's very misogynist. That's not very DEI of you.
All right, let me finish cooking. So, right. So, can I finish? So, Charlie Kirk said that they're basically hiring women of color to make 40 or 50%, right? But when you actually look into it, what happens is...
Women and people of color.
Right, women and people of color. What happens is they're creating a program that's allowing women to train and become pilots. If you actually look at the requirements for these programs, it's nothing different than any other program that trains pilots. But you told people that they're just hiring women when that's not true.
First of all, I never said that.
Yes, you did. I did a video on it, guy.
Yes, I know what I said. Secondly, when you hire based on race and not on excellence, you end up compromising the standards of excellence.
They're not hiring based on race,
Allow me to finish without interrupting me.
All right, go ahead.
When you hire based on race and not on excellence, you end up compromising excellence to be able to pursue race. We know this with Harvard, University of California. We know this with major companies. We know this with the government. Exactly. DEI, that is affirmative action is DEI philosophy in practice.
Struck down already. You're bringing OG.
Allow me to finish my statement. They are actively defying the Supreme Court decision, or they are contorting their policies to try to fit their own DEI agenda. But let me ask you a question. If you were to board a United Airlines...
I didn't get the finish. Go ahead.
If you were to board a flight with United Airlines, would you rather have a pilot that is qualified or one that is diverse? Answer the question.
Wait, that makes no sense. Why is there two different things? How is it different? When you go to American Airlines...
Because in the pursuit of diversity... you sacrifice excellence every time. We know this with Harvard. Right. We know this with Yale. We know this with the military. Right. Every time, every example that we...
This conversation is extremely harmful because all it does is make people look at people who are diverse as if they're less qualified. I hate this discussion. I hate it. And I'm not saying this blindly. I've been in school for the past 5 years chasing something. I hate this discussion because people who are diverse can be qualified. But when you have someone like this young man putting a spotlight on DEI policies, it just makes other people seem like they're not qualified enough. People like me, it just makes you seem like you're not qualified when all I do is work. It's very harmful. I would actually prefer if what Charlie Kirk is saying went into effect. If we just stopped any of these policies and we were just off of merit, there would be no excuse for anyone who is successful. But when you keep forcing these policies down people's throat, who's that helping? Who is, like, genuine question, who is that even helping? It's not helping me. It's not helping anybody. You want what we all want. We want everyone to have the same opportunity, the same chance to go to do something big. For example, NBA. NBA, you can go to the NBA. The NBA, if you guys don't know, doesn't even have a gender requirement. You don't even have to be a man to go to the NBA. Women can go. But the thing is, you have to be good enough to go. You have to be capable enough to go. But when you have certain requirements that you can't change for a basic job, then that's just not fair. And it's not helping me. It's not helping you. It's not helping us. We need to move past this.
We pursue diversity, an institution becomes less excellent. It becomes subpar.
When you go on a plane, do you go to the pilot and ask for their credentials, or do you believe that the airline did the right thing and hired the right? So you ask for their credentials.
Actually, I'm starting to. Hold on. I start to doubt it. That was my statement. That was my statement.
Right.
My statement was if you're going to go from 4% of the pilots being black to 50% of the pilots to be black, it begs the question: you are going to lower the standards.
So my
you're
question
going to put a square peg through a round hole. You are going to force something that naturally is not happening, and you will all of a sudden be playing a very treacherous and dangerous game when you board a plane. When I get heart surgery or if I board a plane, I don't care about the color of the skin of the person doing it. I want excellence and I want meritocracy.
Yes. So stop talking. Are you talking? So, right, let's get back to, because you're talking a lot.
Final point, then I'll get to the next question.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so again, going back to what you said, because like I said earlier ago, you said, and I forgot this is ISU, you basically said that that women are being hired to become pilots, right? Now, first, that's a lie. That's based on a program. Second, correct me if I'm wrong, becoming a pilot is based on skill, correct? It's not based on height. It's not based on physicality. It's not based on nothing. It's based on skill, meaning
not always.
If you're being... so what is it based on?
Because based on a now public lawsuit with the Department of Transportation in 2016, 2017, air traffic controllers and pilot standards were lowered in pursuit of diversity goals.
I looked at that too.
Because of over 15...
They added more
Let me finish. Because of 15 whistleblowers that said the standard of air traffic controllers and pilots were being sacrificed in the pursuit of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
You're lying again.
Okay, I mean, people can do their own independent research, and
I've done it, and you're lying. They actually made it harder. They add more scenarios within the FAA.
Again, everybody
you
here
can Google it right now.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Again, the documents bear out exactly. We now have we have air traffic controllers after air traffic controllers have said in the pursuit of making air traffic controlling more diverse, we have then lowered the quality of air traffic controlling.
So at the end of all this, what you basically told me is that if merit matters, it doesn't matter, because when we mentioned blind hiring, you said you're against that, which is based on merit.
No, time out. They said that they want to prioritize a group above what is meritocratic.
I didn't say that.
That's what United Airlines said. They said
I'm
half.
so confident.
They
read
said
the
half.
executive order out loud.
We're talking about United
right
Airlines.
now,
We're not talking about the
in front
executive
of everybody.
order. Again.
Okay, he's crashing out. I'm going to just say this. What percentage of minorities, I'm going to use my race because it's my race, not to offend anybody, go into being an air traffic controller? If you guys don't know, around 65 to 70% of America is Caucasian American, white American, non-Hispanic. So if you want equality, like an equal amount of every single race in a job such as traffic controller, the first requirement that you need for it to be a fully meritocratic system is that you need every single race to equally choose this career at the same rate. Is that happening? It's probably not happening. So that's the problem. You have to lower the requirement if you want equal races in a job, if all the races are not choosing this job. An example of this would be the NBA. If all races are not actively going at the NBA at the same rate, how could they be in the NBA at the same rate? You can't be. But this conversation is kind of stupid to me. It's really dumb. I feel like we should just hire and go after the best people no matter what. The fact that we're arguing over which race we should hire is so stupid. It's not the 60s anymore. It's 2025. And we're talking about what race we should hire. Jeez, how did we get so far? It's like we've strayed so far. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. My name is LFR Jojo, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.